She mentions how some penis-wielding man called the Dragon ruined the world, and he's now been reborn, so they must seek him out. Sorceress Karen complains to the manager of the mountainside ahead of them, and the mountain relents, dropping some rocks in the men's path to stop them. Karen delivers the one line that probably got this script picked up by Amazon to produce.
This power, it's meant for women.
This guy, Perrin, heads to the forge where his wife is working it alone, and he interrupts her strong productive work to grope her, because he's an evil penis wielder. As she begins pouring out her emotions, Rand starts making out with her because it's nicer than telling her to shut up. He tries to shove a berry down her mouth to buy a few more seconds of sweet silence. Rand realizes sleeping would be more interesting than this conversation and heads to bed. Wisdom meets with Egwene to show her what real power is.
Do you hear that?
Sounds wrong.
A group of women take one down themselves, showing just how strong and independent they can be when they outnumber someone 8-1. Wisdom gets pimp dragged out of there by her weave. She collapses as a fog of toxicity and masculinity washes over her. This man is eating small, innocent birds in front of a woman literally burning at a stake. You know, just in case you forgot that men are purely evil beasts in this world. We catch up with our heroes who are fleeing the incel minotaurs that have not given up on being toxic, no matter how many passive-aggressive tweets our protagonists have posted. Eager to press on, Moraine slams some coke up her horse's nostrils. Egg returns and lays down next to Rand. Her breath immediately wakes him up and he smartly sends her away. So Egg goes over to sit by the fire instead and makes Perrin give her his coat so she can have 3. Rand has COVID, confirmed by the fact that he pulls a bat from Wuhan out of his throat. The party runs into the cult from earlier known as the White Cloaks, and one of the most evilest of penis-wielding men just starts groping Moraine before they're allowed to continue on their way. The group stops again for the night, probably because they're getting just as bored as we are. Uh-oh, looks like Moraine caught COVID now too, and Voldemort and his Minotaur army are here to enforce the strict quarantine measures of this land. They carry on through a crack in the massive wall, and have somehow ended up in Wuhan, which would explain the bats from before. The group learns that they're in some cursed city, and Rand sees some area where he can be further away from Egwene, and seizes the opportunity. Matt, whose name we had to look up, is awoken by spooky voices and the horses freaking out, but they're probably just having cocaine withdrawals. The horses are really jonesing for another snort now, and one of them dies from the withdrawals. A spooky black death swarm is washing over the entire city now. This must be COVID-23 as it came pouring out of that building down the street whose sign says totally not a virus lab. Egg and Perrin decide to just kill themselves instead. We start off with a flashback of Wisdom getting pimp dragged by her weave by some incel minotaurs. Impressed with how serene this place is, the incel minotaur just decides to take a nice soak. But Wisdom's bitch ass interrupts this tranquil moment by murdering him, proving that incels everywhere should continue to avoid hot tubs with women. Cutting away, we join Rand and Matt yelling funny curse words into the mountainside so they can giggle when it echoes. Wisdom has grown attached to Lan, and she freaks out when he goes to leave, and he's like, "I come and go with the wind, bitch." Perrin and Egg approach a mountain, and he tries to leave her behind, but she uses her feminine superpower and guilt trips him. Just look at how happy he is about it. The singer thief comes up behind him and says the guy was killed because he was a ginger. The singer then assumes that Matt wants to play with the corpse.
We've all had desperate moments. Tell me when you're finished.
Rand is flirting with the barkeep because any girl is an upgrade from Egwene, and he wants to prove he's not gay. He grabs Matt and they run from the psycho slut. Moraine, Lan, and Wisdom are greeted by Chipmunk Supreme, who says they've captured a man calling himself the Dragon Reborn, but we all know he's just a dollar store knockoff. We move over to Wisdom, who's at a summer camp for losers with behavioral problems. And it looks like Chipmunk Supreme is a camp counselor this year. So they walk in to find the evil male in a cage, just like in their most empowered fantasies, as they talk jealously about how much stronger he is than them. An unacceptable thing in this world made for women. Outside, Landchops is training and broing out while they discuss Wisdom's badunkadunk before his friend settles for the Walmart version of Wisdom. Wisdom's eating fried chicken, and Chipmunk Supreme comes over and says,
"I like your braid."
"It's so ethnic. Does it have any meaning?" This little girl says she doesn't understand inflation, so Matt tries to explain modern monetary theory to her through examples and ends up swindling her out of some bread and her doll. Land Chops shows up and asks Moraine if she's ever tried the sneezing dragon position.
I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know.
Rand keeps telling Matt to stop farting, but he's out cold. Due to the gas poisoning, Rand has a nightmare that everything's fucked up, but luckily he wakes up in the singer's arms who's been holding him for a while, which isn't weird at all. The singer bravely fights off the ghoul while Rand and Matt run away, knocking down the little girl on their way out. Then the black woman named Wisdom interrupts Land's Buddhist prayer to make him watch her prayer, because I guess it's a contest. The strong and brave and intelligent and clever women fight off the white males, who try and enforce their privilege on them. Outside, Priya says, "Thank you, come again," to the white males. Wisdom, apparently now in love with this guy, goes Super Saiyan and heals everyone, and my god, look at this hair. The ladies all band together and use swirly whirly magic to remove the Dragon Reborn's male privilege. We start off in a winter wonderland where this guy Steppen has to carry this lazy chick to her magical nap, and he even has to tuck her in, but not before robbing her. Chipmunk Supreme approves. Rand takes advantage of the sale going on for fried goat penises while he's in town. Then the fucking hippies join arms to stop them, and the Inquisitors try violence. It's super effective, and this is the best scene of the show so far. He sees someone with a slightly darker skin tone than his own and immediately pulls a sword on him. The Aes Sedai parade the captured Dragon Reborn through the streets, but the residents of this tyrannical toxic matriarchy immediately herald him as their savior and throw him food and sustenance. And he loves it. Since Steppen's lady isn't getting up from her nap anytime soon, his bros dress him in all white and spiff him up to hit the town to find a less lazy lady. The crew rolls out for a night of bird dogging, and after a heavy night of drinking, he ends up at Mordor, ready to cast the ring into the fire. Lan comes home at 6 a.m., ready to receive Moraine's yelling, but she chooses to go with the icy look of disapproval instead. She's invited to a captivating lunch with the head white, and Perrin gets to join because they confuse him for a roast pig. Steppen, still drinking, shows up at Wisdom's place for an 8 a.m. duty call, but she's not in the mood despite how romantic it all is. Chipmunk Supreme finds Wisdom in a hallway where she lectures her on the importance of Confederate statues. Egwene won't stop stress farting.
Egwene, stop.
He finds him passed out in the hallway, so they put him to bed and read him a bedtime story. But not just any bedtime story, they're telling the tale of Black Panther. The story reaches a fever pitch as Moraine says, "Wakanda forever!" and Lan gets so excited he whips his tits out. For this insult, the Mother Principal sentences him to an eternity of detention, where he has to watch Barbie on repeat.
Kill me. Please kill me.
No! Kill me! Please! Kill me! Please!
Moraine is told to get on her knees and relax her jaw as she receives the long punishment of justice from the Mother Principal. The mean girls meet in the hallway, each with their own backup, and Chipmunk Supreme says tomorrow, 3 o'clock, by the flagpole. Be there, nerd. Wisdom does a quick walk of shame with the town ogre. Wisdom does another walk of shame with the ogre, but gets caught this time. Moraine catches Egwene rubbing Perrin's unconscious, half-naked body. Lan, clearly frustrated, blows into Moraine's room and tells her that his protection of her comes at a physical cost, if you know what I mean.
I can't protect you if I can't feel you.
Then Moraine saunters through a portal into the mother's bedroom, where we learn that they're not only Aes Sedai mother and daughter, but also scissor sisters.
On your knees.
The Mother Principal makes her swear to accept this judgment on a double-sided justice stick, an object so terrifying that she shakes in fear of its potential use. The ogre accidentally fart blasts the horses and they gallop off.
They would not survive.
We start off in the middle of a mountainside war where a woman who is 8 months, 30 days, 23 hours, and 45 minutes pregnant is casually dominating men in hand-to-hand combat and murdering them with ease. She gets stabbed, but the unborn baby takes the brunt of the hit and protects her, just as nature intended. With her enemies dispatched, she tries to take a relaxing dump. They can't go forward without reading it, and they stupidly rely on the ogre to read what it says, so the group makes camp, knowing they're in for a long night. Later, Egg hears the tranquil silence of men sleeping peacefully without her nagging, and she decides to do something about it. Once the swarm catches up to them, it gets in their faces and calls them names, and when the word ratchet reaches Wisdom's ears, she goes ballistic and acts real ratchet as she blasts back the bugs. Perrin gets pickpocketed, and he's pretty sure it was the random merchant guy from episode 1, but half of Perrin doesn't want to racially profile someone. There's 3 seconds of silence, so Perrin just has to tell someone that he's vegan.
They don't eat chicken or beef.
The way they live is simple. If the whole world followed it, we'd be much better off.
Later, everyone is talking shit on Moraine because she struck out at the bar.
Shh, here she comes.
Moraine tells everyone that if everything goes according to plan at the Eye of the World, 3 of them will be ground to dust tomorrow. So, everyone ready to go? Wisdom is putting her hair back on and trying to sneak out after taking advantage of Lan, but she decides to stick around after she learns that Lan is actually in a position to inherit a kingdom. How typical. Later, Rand lays awake in bed with Egwene, wondering if she really didn't hear him every time he said no. Moraine and Rand set off for the Eye of the World alone and must traverse this tangled forest known as Wisdom's Bush. We catch up with Rand and Moraine, who are knuckle-deep in Wisdom's Bush, where they find a cordyceps victim. Perrin, lethargic and exhausted from his vegan diet, comforts Egwene, who is devastated by Rand escaping her abusive grip. Wisdom says, "I know a trick that will cheer you up," and he's like, "Oh yeah, that thing you did with the ice and your armpit last night?"
You are a remarkable woman, Wisdom.
Egwene's ability to listen to the One Power is getting stronger.
Do you hear anything? Something wrong.
Rand and Moraine giggle about deforestation. They take a break, and Moraine tells Rand a story about her first lesbian experience.
There was an Aes Sedai at the White Tower when I was a novice. She was strong, controlled, precise. She was terrifying. And she took a liking to me, and she came to my room at night, alone, and she beat me, and she wouldn't stop. Until the pain and the fear was so overwhelming.
Lan, no stranger to Wisdom's Bush, dives headlong into the thicket in search of Moraine. He's remembering bits and pieces and is mentally teleported into a hideous, nightmarish future where he's been tricked into a life with Egwene. She hands him a baby to hold while she goes off to whore around. Hours later, back in Rand's vision, Egg finally waddles back home. Egg and the Wiz join some other strong women in the middle of nowhere, linking their female strength as they prepare for 10,000 approaching incels. Rand is holding in some major gas during this critical moment. Now that Rand has been officially labeled as a toxic male who can channel, he isn't going back with Moraine. Moraine now has some magic rock that somehow means this wasn't the final battle. What?